This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So we were discussing the about ethical committee. So we discussed like how an ethical committee can be constituted, what are the rules and like how we can register an ethical committee, then who can be a member of ethical committee, then the qualification and roles and responsibility of each people, each ethical committee member, what are the different roles and qualifications. So we discussed all that. Today we will see the responsibilities of an ethical committee. So basically, we discussed the role of an ethical committee is to ensure the protection protection of the dignity, well-being, the rights, safety of the research participants. So we have seen like so many incidents have happened in the past in various parts of the country where many people were exploited. So without their consent, without their permission, they were recruited for the study, and so many unhuman things happened, and many people exploited, especially those people like prisoners, like captives in the war, then mentally retarded people. So since many such things happened, in different parts of the country, they formed ethical guidelines, and now it is in a stage where like every even if a very small study is being done, it has to get the ethical approval process. So the ethical guidelines is now very strong, and ethical committee is also a very strong and independent body, and which has the authority to give approval, or like they can even stop the progress of any study. So to that extent, the ethical committee has grown. So in every country, the ethical committee is very strong. And for each research, we need to get permission from the ethical committee. And before even initiating the study, we need to register. We need to submit the protocol to the ethical committee, and they have to do the review process. Then we know who all are involved or who all forms the ethical committee. Today we'll see the roles and responsibility of the ethical committee. The basic responsibilities, like it is to protect the dignity, rights, safety and well-being. Each term here is important. Dignity, for example, like that is why we have a lay person in the committee or a social worker in the committee, so such people can understand if a person's dignity is affected when they are taking part in a study, their moral values are affected, or any such impact is happening on any group of community. So that is why in ethical committee we have such people also, legal experts are there, lay person is, social worker is there. So apart from the people or the medical people, we have people from among the common people also, we have some the dignity or rights and being of the research participants are protected. So this is the basic responsibility of the ethical committee. Then the ethical committee, so the basic idea of ethical committee is this, and the ethical committee has to ensure the ethical conduct of the research by the investigator team. So it is not just during the beginning. The committee will just review the study and give approval. They have to continue the process. Like when the study is ongoing, also they need to go and visit sometimes the site of study and also see that the ethical guidelines and all the other guidelines are followed, whether the participants are given proper place, all those things. So the complete study has to be done ethically. So it is the responsibility of the ethical committee to ensure that the ethical conduct of the research is being like the conduct of the research is like from the right from the beginning to the till submission of the report. It is not even till submission, even they will see whether it has been published in the public domain, whether all are benefited. So throughout the study, they have to ensure that it is conducted ethically. Then ethical committee is responsible for declaration of conflict of interest to the chairperson, if any, at each meeting, and ensuring these are recorded in the minutes. So we also, I think we discussed regarding the conflict of interest, where the chair, it is like in the responsibility of chairperson, we discussed it. Chairperson has to collect the conflict of interest. Conflict of interest we discussed, like if any of the member is having any interest other than reviewing the study, if he has got any other interest, particular interest in the study, it can be emotional, or maybe he's a part of that marketing like manufacturing team. So if any such relation is there, then uh, like it is a statement that they don't have any such special interest in the study. So all the members has to submit the conflict of interest to the chairperson, and ethical committee, it is the responsibility of the committee, the chairperson, that none of the committee members has got any specific special interest in giving approval to any particular study. So without any conflict of interest, review has to take place. Then ethical committee should perform its function through competent initial and continuing review. So competent means it has to be done like all the people who are involved in the review are like most of them are qualified. Like all of them has got appropriate qualification to be in that particular role. So they have to be competent, and do in the initial, not just during the initial review, they have to ensure that even throughout the study, they maintain that they recognize their role and they fulfill their role throughout the study as well. So they have to be competent and research process, and it has to be done in objective, timely, and independent manner. Uh, there is timeline, like when a particular proposal is being submitted to an ethical committee, there is a timeline, like within 3 to 4 days the researcher has to get information, like when their review is going to take place. And once the review is over, like again a gap, like there will be a specified time period during which the committee has to communicate to the researcher whether it is approved or any amendment is required. So whatever is required, that has to be communicated to the researcher within a specified time span. So not we know in certain government they will do it if they get some there, and like maybe 6 to 1 year they will not even touch it. But ethical committee should not do like that. Why? Because it, from like right from the beginning, we are discussing, like when we are discussing about clinical research, it is a very time taking process, and it is a very expensive process. So as we waste time, like more financial constraint is going to happen. So the ethical committee has to do everything, like when they receive a proposal, then they have to communicate it within that specified time, and even after review also they have to communicate whatever the decision of the ethical committee to the researcher within the given specified time. So they just can't lag, and it has to be done in a timely manner. And also, institution should not give pressure. Like if it is an institution ethical committee, the institution should not give any pressure to approve like whatever study is being given, or whatever proposed study that is submitted to the, or whatever proposed studies review is done, the institution should not put any pressure on the ethical committee to give approval. Because nowadays we know that, like as many researchers any particular institution is having, then they'll be having more benefit, like they'll be getting accreditation very easily, then they'll be more recognized with more publication and all. But the ethical committee should not be giving approval to whatever research proposal is that is being submitted to them, and nobody should, put any pressure on ethical committee to, um, to give approval unethically. So it should be an independent, like whatever decision the ethical committee is taking, be independent. There should not be any political pressure or any institution pressure. Nothing like they should not like sometimes. We know that some bribe will be given and approval can be easily gained. All such things should not happen. It is an independent um, or independent body, so it has to do things, it has to take decision independently. So it has to be all the initial as well as continued review of all aspects. The scientific has to be aspect has to be reviewed, ethical aspect, medical and social aspects has to be reviewed, and it has to revert back in a timely and independent manner by attending meetings, participation in discussion and deliberation. So it everything has to be, each and every point has to be discussed and deliberated. Then only appropriate decision should be taken, and the decision should reach the researcher in the appropriate time. Then the ethical committee must ensure that the universal ethical values and international scientific standards are followed in terms of local community values and customs. Um, the ethical guideline, we know, I think we discussed regarding Declaration of Helsinki. So Declaration of Helsinki is one of the internationally accepted ethical guidelines. So all the ethical guidelines throughout the world is prepared out of it. Like the basic structure of any ethical guideline is from the Declaration of Helsinki. So that has to be applied, or in international scientific standards are to be followed, and we like when we accept international guidelines or general guidelines, we have a general guideline, and when we are trying to implement in a local place, we cannot completely implement it, because some of the local community they will be having different beliefs and different customs. So I don't have an example to explain, but I think you can get it like complete blindly. We cannot implement whatever guideline in a very local community. Maybe example, in fully 100% cannot implement the international standard guidelines. There are some barriers because of the people's beliefs or customs. So that has to be properly addressed. So that loophole has to be properly addressed and discussed. So ethical committee should decide in such a way that although the 100% the ethical guidelines of international standard, even if they try to implement in a local or a tribal place, it is not 100% possible. But their beliefs or customs should not be heard. So ethical committee has to make decisions thinking about such things as well. Then the ethical committee should assist in the development and education of the research community in the given institute, including researchers, clinicians, students, and others. Responsive to local healthcare requirements. So ethical committee, it means that ethical committee should some training programs where which will motivate, like if it is an institutional ethical committee, or they have to announce or they have to organize some meetings, some training programs, or which explain like what is ethics, how research has to be done, like what are some of the scopes, what kind of research can be done in that institute, if some insight about the various different researches that can be possibly done in the institution is explained in a meeting and all, then more people will come up with like the courage to take research. So it's responsibility to give research areas in that particular institution. So it's one of the responsibility of the ethical committee. As how they can assist in the development and education of research committee, one example is by conducting seminars, organizing seminars in the institute itself. Then responsibility of members should be clearly defined, so that we all we discussed last class, each every responsibility of all the ethical committee members. So there can be some overlap, or there can be some way of ethical. So what this has given, like these ICM what we either as a chairperson or secretary or legal expert, but it can be should be responsibility of the secretary. But it can vary slightly. So whenever an ethical committee is formed, they have to clearly define in written form or in a printed form. It should be clearly defined. So for each ethical committee, their own individual roles and responsibility list prepared and maintained. Then to be given to the committee members when they are come uh, when uh, when they are appointed. So when ethical committee, each ethical committee member is appointed, they have to recall all the secretary, secretary. They join secretary. It is the member secretary will teach and you guys are contact. So to train the members. Role because it is this member secretary's role, it is their role to document all the minutes of meeting to do. So in that area, the member secretary should be trained and confidential management. So, like when they are appointed itself on the street, the ethical committee also ensure privacy of the individual, confidentiality of data in the documents of ethical committee meeting is protected. So, the ethical committee is receiving the research proposals. So, when they receive the research proposals, they have to ensure that the privacy and confidentiality of whatever is submitted to them, and all the even the ethical committee meeting details, they have it has to be stored in a confidential manner. Then next function is ethical committee reviews progress reports, final reports, adverse effects or serious adverse effects, and gives needful suggestions regarding care of the participants and risk minimization procedures if applicable. So we know first the ethical committee will be receiving the research proposal, then they will be doing the review, then they will approve. Okay, carry on the study. So once the study is going on, so the researcher has to submit progress report, like how the study is progressing. So that progress and study is so whenever commission also initial protocol review or protocol discussion and approval. Even after that, as the study progresses, the progress report has to be reviewed. Then final report has to be reviewed. Then if any adverse effects or serious adverse effects happened, or if there is a potential risk of any adverse effects or serious adverse effects, then the ethical committee even has to give some suggestions, like how the participants can be taken care, and how the like risk of this particular serious adverse effects can be minimized. So when the researcher submits the protocol itself, in that also it is the responsibility of the researcher to oversee or like to foresee whatever side effects or serious adverse effects that is anticipated. So they have to submit it to the it has to be included in the protocol, and the solution and also whatever strategies you are going to take to minimize the risk. All those things should be present in the protocol itself. And if further some information, some clarification, or some more inputs are required to properly improve the patient care or to manage the risk, the ethical committee can add on to that. Or it is their responsibility to add more data to like on risk minimization or even to manage the adverse effects or serious adverse effects. They also have to see the progress reports and also final reports also. Then ethical committee has another responsibility to recommend appropriate compensation for research related injury wherever required. So there are also chances of research related injury. So according to the damage caused, the ethical committee has to recommend compensation. Some calculations are also there for that. I think we'll discuss it later. Like how to calculate compensation. Some different formulas are there. So ethical committee has to recommend like this much amount of money that person has to get according to the damage caused, like according to the research related injury that has happened to the participant. So it is the responsibility of the ethical committee to recommend appropriate compensation. Then, so when required, the ethical committee also has to like visit the site. So ethical committee should carry out monitoring visits at study site as and when required. Then ethical committee participate in continuing education activities in research ethics and get updated on relevant guidelines and regulations. So we know the guidelines. Uh, the guidelines are especially regarding to the clinical trials, the guidelines will be updated on a regular basis. So it is the responsibility of the ethical committee to get updated with the guidelines. And also they have to do some they have or some seminars so that all committee members will come to know on these particular new regulation. Okay. Then ethical committee should see that the conduct of same or similar research by different institutions that same investigator from the same institution is harmonized. Me too research or replicative should be encouraged, and submission to different same funding agency should not be accepted. So this is something which we can see nowadays, studies that has been conducted already, and we have conducted received data conclusive, but still conclusive data or they by a different study, maybe an year or two back. But still, some other researchers would like to take up the study because everything is available, like research methodology is there, sample size calculation is already done, they have sufficient samples. In the same place, again, they try the same study. So, or similar study with like objective placed with maybe one or two are other objective and a different modification they will try to do and do the same study again. So ethical committee has to do it properly and should not allow such habits. Like there is me too studies, that is me too research, similar studies should not be encouraged. And the same like there are different funding for the same research agencies. So if like for the same research, they should not be submitting to different funding agencies to get money. So that thing also has to be discouraged. So these are the functions of the ethical committee. So main function is dignity, rights, well-being of the participants are protected. Then they have to conduct in an ethical manner throughout. Then conflict of interest has to be addressed. Then like throughout the study, not just during the initial, but throughout the study, they have to ensure that do it in a timely manner and independent manner. Then even if the are universal ethical value, scientific standards are there, when they are in a low international, like they are doing local, they're doing it in that locality values and customs has to be respected. Then the ethical committee is responsible again. They have to encourage the institutes to take more research, giving insight into different institution members to take up giving ideas on how objectives how the different objectives can be met, or how researchers can be taken up. Then they have to ethical committee has each and as they are getting audited, it has to be the committee member and given to them. Members should receive then ethical committee also has to ensure the privacy and confidentiality of all the data submitted to them. Then ethical committees, it is the ethical committee's responsibility to review the progress report, then the final report, then and also ethical committee. The committee's responsibility is a committee. The support they have to give some suggestions regarding how to handle adverse effects and risk. Then ethical committee should have should recommend, or they have to calculate the compensation for all research related injuries. Then when required, the committee has to even visit the study site. Then ethical committee also organize continuing education activity, um, should or continue to dissipate knowledge regarding any updated guidelines or regulations. Then ethical committee should not encourage any Me Too studies or similar kind of research in the same institution. Then they also should educate the researcher not to apply for any grants, same research in different agencies. So these are the functions of ethical committee. Then submission and review procedures. So the researcher has to submit the research proposal as after research so to the secretary. These treat review and certain format to submit it, and this checklist has to be prepared by the ethical committee. So researcher has to submit. So the research proposal should have like so many documents, such as should be to the secretary. Then even our researcher can request the whether they need a faculty review or expedited review, or exception from review. Three types of review. Types of review. So the research, like review by whoever is submitting the research, request what review research proposal they need, and the ethical committee will decide. The member secretary will decide they need, and will decide whether a particular requested kind of review can be done in the rundown review for the research. So the researcher has to include a cover letter, then proof review, then one application will be there, application, then informed consent document will be there. Informed consent document should contain like the patient information sheet, or like all the aspects around the research, and also the informed consent where the participant will sign and participant investigator sponsor, etc., and also the witness will be signing. That has to be there. And then any questionnaire they're using, that should be included. Then if investigator's brochure, investigator's brochure, hope you remember, the sponsor gives it to the investigator during initiation of the study. So that has to be included. Then if any funding agency there, they the researchers, then conflict of interest if any has to be submitted. Then the researcher also should submit GCP training. Like investigator should proper training. GCP is good clinical practice training in like within the last 5 years he has to have underwent this good clinical practice training. Then undertaking functions be doing. If then the regulatory permission also. So then if the regulatory application authority provided, something as SC and is required. This research proposal is promotion between sponsor, investigator, and that also is there. So all these things has to be, there should be a checklist for all like what has to be submitted enclosed to the member secretary along with the there should be a checklist. So all be all these committee review. A certain type of review is required. That is case questionnaire and how the patient went through any question, then how advertisement or through notice. So that's where agencies in curriculum vitae and any conflict of interest, they would the of interest be training circuit undertaking if approval research more one out if some outside research proposal is being submitted MOU inside proposal and trial agreement has a member secretary, so that all submitted by the researcher. Then according to what kind of study, sometimes they can prepare the checklist. Then according to various studies, various according to the nature of the research, this checklist may vary. Then types of review. In types of review, there are three types of review. One is exemption from review. Exemption from review means there is no review by the committee at all. The member secretary will go through it, and he will decide that this particular study does not require any review by the committee, full committee. So that is called as exception from review. So these are some of the examples where, like these are some uh, researches which does not require any review, or where the exception from review is applicable. So whenever any proposal is having less than minimal risk. And there are no linked identifiers. Identifiers means they cannot identify which patients or which participants data is that or sample is being used. So proposal with less than minimal risk. Less than minimal risk means like there is no harm or discomfort anticipated. Like during the study, there is no harm or discomfort to the patient. Like even it is not even expected. So those studies where there is probability of harm or discomfort is nil or not expected. So all studies where there is no harm or discomfort, uh, where harm or discomfort is not anticipated at all. Such studies are called as like such situation is less than minimal risk. So proposals with less than minimal risk can be exempted from the review. Example is some non-identified data or samples are there, some data, some lab reports of so many patients are there, but we cannot identify which patients it is. So that data can be, so there are some people, if the researcher is doing research on that data where we cannot identify the participant. So that kind of research can be exempted from the review. Then if we are using samples like body samples, urine, saliva, blood, leftover samples, and we can't identify it, whose it is, then uh, if people are doing research on that, then that study can be exempted from the review. So there is no risk at all. Like the data may be belonging to some participants, and there are no risk to these participants because their identity is never disclosed, or nobody knows the identity, real identity of the data or the samples. So there is no risk at all, and no risk is expected also. So that is called as less than minimal risk. So all the proposals with less than minimal risk can be exempted from the study. Then another example is research conducted on data available in the public domain for systematic review or meta-analysis. So in public domain, some data is available. Like we can see in systematic review and meta-analysis, you can see they what they do is uh, there will be lot of research results in the website, and in systematic review and meta-analysis, what they do is they will collect all these results, and these whoever is doing the systematic review and meta-analysis, they don't have, they are not directly linked to the participants or other researchers. They are taking piling up all the data that is already published, and they are deriving a conclusion out of it with the help of statistics. So that is also considered as a research. So research conducted on data available in the public domain for systematic review and meta-analysis. Systematic review and meta-analysis means whatever data, published data already available in the internet, they will compile it and they will derive conclusion with the help of statistics. Here all less than minimal risk is there. So we don't, the data is there, but we cannot identify whose data it is. So the participants are never exposed to any harm, and no harm is expected also. So there is less than minimal risk. So such studies also can be. Then another example is observation of public behavior when information is ordered without any linked identifiers and disclosure. And disclosure would not harm the interest of the observed person. So if something is given and or anything, any intervention is made, and just the observation is noted down, and the patient's any identification is patient's identification is not included. Like we are not taking down their name, age, or anything. We're just noting down the observations. So such kind of study can be accepted from the um, review. Then all the quality control and quality assurance audits in the institution. Quality control and quality assurance audits means Like last year, you have learned for uh, patient counseling, drug information, and all. They will do some quality control or quality audits. So, for example, for drug information, they will go through all the data, like uh, regarding they'll see how the answer was in, whether the answer was given in the right time, then whether the resources they sought were appropriate. So these they will assess for all the drug information queries, and they will prepare tables, graphs, and see like how far they are doing the job. So these are called quality control or quality assurance. So these are also even researchers. So they can also be published. So here also, like we are not taking down which pharmacist has given the answer, which like not based upon the individual pharmacist. Like we are assessing like throughout in the drug information center, like for around 2 years, all the drug information queries answered is being assessed, not based upon the pharmacist. Pharmacist identification is not disclosed, so there is no harm in it. So such kind of study also can be exempted from review. Then other examples another example, how like consumer acceptance studies, then public health programs by government agencies. Mm, so all these can be exempted from review. Only thing is the all the proposals which are having less than minimal risk. Less than minimal risk means there is no harm or no risk anticipated at all. Like in the study, there is no harm or no risk, and even we cannot predict any harm or any risk. So such studies can be exempted from the review. Then we have expedited review. Expedited review means proposals that pose no more than minimal risk. So minimal risk is acceptable. So exemption from review means the proposal with less than minimal risk. Expedited review means proposal that pose no more than the minimal risk. So minimal risk means there is a probability of a harm or discomfort, and this harm or discomfort is not greater than like the routine normally they see in a daily basis. Like this harm can happen even in the daily life of a participant also, even if they participate or don't participate. Every participant will be having this potential risk, this like even if they participate or don't participate, they have this risk. So probability of harm or discomfort in the research is not greater than the risk that they have in their daily routine life. So that is called as minimal risk. So if you take a group of people, like in their daily life, they have some risk, and if they participate in the research also, there is no extra risk. This risk is comparable or is same as the risk even if they are not participating in the study. So, so that is called as minimal risk. Probability of harm or discomfort that is expected in research is not greater than that ordinarily encountered in the routine daily life of any participant. That is called as minimal risk. So all uh, proposals that pose no more than minimal risk can be given expedited review. So example is research involving non-identifiable specimen and human tissue from sources like blood bank, tissue bank, and leftover clinical samples. So from the institution, they can do research on the non-identifiable, all the non-identifiable specimens or human tissues. Actually, initially, this particular research involving samples, non-identifiable sample, was like exemption from review. But later on, now it requires expedited review. So before Like many years before, the samples, non-identifiable samples, like if study is being done on non-identifiable samples, then that kind of study was exempted from review. But nowadays, we can see that this study also requires some review, expedited review it requires. Then research involving clinical documentation materials that are non-identifiable data documents reports. Then already if a particular research proposal has undergone a full committee review or full committee review and they have the ethical committee has communicated to them like some of the mistakes like any correction of any typing mistake or if the researcher is changed then some protocol amendments like some administrative changes has happened then such research proposal will be they should not again undergo a full review again. So first they have the researcher has submitted the research proposal and that research proposal undergone a full committee review. Then during the full committee review or after the full committee review, the ethical committee communicated to the researcher that there are some things that you have to change like typing errors then again, after doing the correction, they will submit again, and it doesn't require a full committee review again. That can go through an expedited review. Then during the study, like after getting approval, like if a researcher has given the proposal to the ethical committee and they received the approval, now they are doing the study, and in between the study, the researcher is changed, principal investigator is changed. Some in some protocol administrative change you have to remember like changes like minor changes such as administrative change or a change in researcher if that is happening during the clinical research then again they have to submit to the ethical committee and that particular research has to undergo an expedited review if major changes are there then again they have to go for the full committee review but these are the like different situation which requires an expedited review. So here you can see any modification or amendment to the already approved protocol, change or correction of typographical error or change in researcher, they have to again that particular research has to undergo expedited review. So there are three types of review. One is exemption from review, and we have expedited review. Then we have this full committee review. So we will discuss what is remaining in the next class. Meanwhile, please also prepare for a test of the first chapter, drug discovery. And the slides are all good. Go through it. The class regarding attendance. Every 15 days, it is asked the principals to submit this chronic absence list. So nobody should be caught in that. So please inform everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You can leave. Thank you. Okay, bye. Thank you, bye.